Hi everyone! Well, for the very first floral painting of the holiday season, we're painting poinsettias. And I have to say, it's a lot of red. I had so much fun painting these flowers. Now I will recommend, if it looks like too much red, go ahead and knock off the top two flowers and just paint the main one. It is really a fun painting. Be careful too that the red and green don't touch each other because they will create brown, and I talk about that as we paint together. But I am so excited for the new holiday and Christmas florals and projects we're going to be doing this month. I hope you have so much fun painting with me today. Well, hi everyone. It is the end of November, the beginning of the Christmas season. This is our first official Christmas painting, so I'm super excited to paint poinsettias. And I will be honest, I've never really painted poinsettias before. I started playing with them. I always have considered them to be a little bit of a bushy Christmas flower, but I do love them. And my sweetest friend in the world, she gave me a beautiful bush of poinsettias, or a bouquet of poinsettias, and so I'm going to go ahead and start painting. If you can see right on here, we have just a couple of colors this morning that we're going to be using, or today, red and green, and we have to be careful because red and green when blended together will make brown, and so that's always a dangerous. I think that's why I've kind of shied away from poinsettias. They're really quite unique flowers though. As I was looking at the leaves, if you don't have one, pull up some pictures. I'll have some pictures available as well. And look at those leaves and the florals and the stems. They really are gorgeous. You can see what I've done here is I have basically just sketched out with micron pen a big my front poinsettia and then a couple of backgrounds, because they really are not single flowers, right? They kind of come in a group. A little tray down here at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and start painting. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm using red, cadmium red light this morning to paint. And I have also finally cleaned out my palette because it was a bit of a mess. But I'm like, I've got to see what's under there, especially we start painting Christmas, holiday, winter themes. It's a different palette, right? So you can see, if you notice when you're sketching the points at the end of the flowers, each one of them has a point, but also you can be very detailed in the lines that you paint in. As you can see, I'm going to just kind of go around here, paint the different leaves, also, or I should say the petals of the poinsettia plant. They come out at the end. I'm doing flower by flower so as to keep my mind straight as what I'm painting. We are going to need to find a way to darken the leaves, and usually I would add the opposite color, but again, if I add green, it's going to be brown. I am going to add a little bit of blue. If I add too much blue, it's going to be purple, right? And I ran into that at a previous painting when I was doing that. So I'm just working my way around here. You can certainly use a bigger brush. I'm going to get a little bit more water. And you can see too, I'm really making sure I leave lots of white on there. I'll come in just a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm also, if you're painting along with me, I'm going to be using a bit of cadmium yellow along with Hooker's green in the leaves. And I'm going to be using a bit of blue. If you have ultramarine blue, that's going to be great. If you have another blue, a dark blue, any sort of dark blue is going to be great. Phthalo blue might be, you know I love phthalo blue, but it's a bit intense, I think, for a little bit bright for the look that we want to create. Again, just working around. This is a leaf back here, so I'm going to be cognizant of that. You'll notice, what I noticed is that the petals come off of like this, almost this stem that's coming out of the middle of the flower. Very, very unique flowers. Again, just moving my way around. I do not have my Christmas decor out. I still have all my Thanksgiving and autumn is piled on the table. I do have a little centerpiece of fall. I have really loved the fall this year, and it just kind of saturated and percolated in the fall season. We still have lots of leaves around here. I was out for my day job. I was out seeing a client that was pretty far away, several hours, and there's supposed to be a snowstorm today. So I got out there yesterday to take care of that so I could get home today before the snow started, and I'll stay. When I go out today, I'll be areas that are not getting snow. We're supposed to have about, in Tahoe, about 9 inches of snow coming in tomorrow, which would be great. Okay, so you see too here, I've got my flower very nicely out. I think I have another leaf back here, and I have my phone making noises. I was waiting for a phone call this morning, so I've taken it off silent. So we'll just fix that really quick. Okay, so now that I have this, again, we have to be cognizant of green and red together. I'm actually going to go for yellow first. And on my leaves, I am going to go ahead and I am going to look at the lines in my leaves. What I thought was really interesting, if you look at the green leaves of the poinsettia plant and then look at the petals of the poinsettia plant, they're actually kind of similar, which was interesting to me. I don't know of any other flower where the leaves and the petals look so much alike. You even look at all the lines that are going down there on each individual leaf. Those are very similar. So I'm moving around. This is actually a petal. So I'm going to come back with red, and that will have some shading back here. Okay, let's see. We are 5.5 minutes in. I will say too, go ahead, grab it, get some green going on your brush here. Again, I've got some Hooker's green. I know I had sap green on my palette, but I'm going back to Hooker's. It's a colder green. And in here around where the face of the flower is, I think it's the stamen would be the official. Go ahead and make those little dots that you can see. I got a little bit down there. You can see it eking into the red. I'm not too bothered by that. I'm going to go up on this area too, this flower face, and put in this area. Okay, and you can see I'm just working around the painting. Again, kind of wanting to let things dry. I'm going to come back over here now. I'm so sorry if you can hear the gardeners. I thought they were done, but alas, they are not. And I'm going to come back over here and start painting in these leaves. I'm actually going to switch over to a slightly larger brush, my size 7, and get some green. I just want it to be nice and loose. Get some more water on there. And I'm going to go ahead and again, once again, being cognizant of where my petals are and compared to the leaves. Okay, and I'm coming around here. And now moving over here. And I will say the beauty of the poinsettia is the dramatic contrast, right, of that red and that green. So we're going to go ahead. We're moving right around here. Be careful with your brush. Make sure you're using a round tip brush that you can go in close to the poinsettia petals, but not get that green touching the red. And again, I'm going to come over here, adding in a little bit of a darker area down here. Now, I'm just going to do one layer with you today, but you know, if you've watched me and painted with me, a lot of times, especially if you've gone over any of my courses where I show you all the details that I do, I'll let it dry, come back and add in more details if I so desire. Let me lift this up so you can see that better. And then come in again and add another layer of paint. This is finished when you want it to be. However, a lot of times I know that many of us we have families, we're working jobs, volunteering in the community, at church, and there's just not tons of time to create. And yet, just spending 15 minutes, 30 minutes a week painting, and especially you can use these as journal pages, as you saw last week, right, with the sunflower, the thankful journal. You can absolutely create beautiful, beautiful journal pages, just a way to release stress. There's just something wonderful about spending a little bit of time in creating. So if you can't do all the layering and all the detail work, just do what you can. I will say that these could make really fun gifts too, especially if you've been honing your gift and your skill of painting and creating and using these now to share that gift of beauty with other people. This one's a bit big to stick in the mail, but I know I have people who like receiving that artwork. And this littler one, I can stick in probably a Christmas card. And so that's fun too, right? I always say that paintings of flowers are sometimes better than giving flowers because the paintings never wilt. They just stay forever. Okay, now we're going to come back. Now I'm going to come back and I am going to mix the various tiny bit of blue, and I'm going to show this here. When I say like a little bit on the edge, and then I'm going to really lots and lots and lots of red, because really all I want is a darker red. I don't want it to look purple, right? So then I'm going to come back over here, and where I am looking at my flower and looking at where I see darker areas, I'm going to now come back in here and I'm just going to start working it around. I'm not doing it everywhere. I'm just doing it in some of the places. And also too, if I think to myself, okay, I just want a bit bolder, more red in here, I'm going to just come on through here, go right down the middle, and then just creating that sense of depth and a little bit darker area. I'm going to put some darker area right in here. I saw it on this little guy. If you have a flower in front of you, fantastic. If you don't, you can even just see where the light is falling and where there's going to be more shadowing, right? So we've got more shadowing under here, all down here. Okay, now we have our cup holder, our plant holder at the bottom here. I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to do, I had done yellow in the last one. I didn't like that. So I am going to come back. I'm going to do blue. I'm going to just do a blue flower pot. And if you don't like that, you know, you might want to do red. Red can be really bold. But we're just going to do, since I have blue in some of the other areas of painting, I'm going to make a blue flower pot where my flowers are. And then I am going to take the blue and I'm going to just actually dab some blue directly on some of these areas where I see the shadowing and also where I want to create that sense of all those lines. And then we'll go back over it with the red, so it's going to blend in beautifully. Hopefully it's not going to turn purple on me. We'll go over here. I'm going to use that over here a little bit. And just moving this around, I see some paint that just kind of was pooling in a couple areas. I'm going to go back, I'm going to pick up red, and because poinsettias are such a deep red, they're such a Christmas red, so I really want it to be lots of red showing. We'll have a little bit of blue in here, maybe we're hinting at a little bit of purple, but I really want it to be beautiful red. Okay, coming back up here where I want to add a little bit more of definition to these petals, but since these ones are mostly in the light, I want to make sure they stay pretty red. I don't have too much shadowing going on up here. And I'm going to leave a little bit more white, thinking too, I'm going to add another petal there, that the light might be catching onto them a bit more. Okay, we're going to come back over here and looking at where those points were. And if you feel like it looks a little bit messy, always remember as it dries, things tend to clean up a bit on their own, and you can always come back and play a bit. And I'm going to go right on this particular poinsettia bloom petal. I'm going to move that right over here and then bring it down to the end. Okay, now I'm not going to touch too much more on this because I know it has a tendency to get a little bit messy. I'm going to come back with my red and just come back right in here. Now I will tell you what I'm probably going to do as well is I'm going to let this sit and let it dry, and then I will come back in and I'm going to add in some more detail, and I will film that as well so that you can see that. I'm going to take this red over here because I don't want purple. We want darker shadows, but we don't want purple. And I'm just going to also use that darker color to create some of those distinguishing lines. Now, are we staying within our 20-minute mark? I'm hoping so. 14 minutes. Okay, this is good. We're going to let it dry. I'm going to come back. We will add some details, and that will be, we'll finish up on our beautiful painting. Hi everyone. Okay, so we're back and we are just doing some detail work here. I did want to come back today because it is so much red and it's so bold and it just feels like it really does need some finishing touches today. I'm going to move this back. I wanted you to see what I'm doing. So I was just making like little X's. The paper on the wrapping around the poinsettia that my sweet friend gave to me just had some design work, so I was going ahead, I was adding in a little bit. I was kind of thinking to myself, gosh, I wasn't thrilled with the blue, but that's okay. You know what, you could always paint again. I just thought, you know, I just wasn't as excited. I maybe should have gone with the red like I did with this one. Also, I will say that because I was doing a lot of excess, almost like trying to put in more blooms on the bigger paper that we had, it feels very crowded to me, at least. And so I was coming back and thinking, okay, what can I do just to create a little bit of space in here, but also to create a little bit of helping to ease that harshness of the white background with the bold red. And I'm just doing some detail work in here. I'm just going through. My painting is dry. You can see the paint's buckled a little bit. But as I was saying, how can I kind of soften things up a bit? But not wanting to drench the paper again, right, with a bunch of paint. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to add splatters. That's kind of been my theme this year. I've really loved adding a lot more splattering. I find that it provides detail and what the kind of the space and dimension and texture that I want without having to drench the paper with water. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some more details as well, but I want to spread this blue around a bit because it just looks a bit much having it only down here. We did use it in some of our darker areas, but you really can't tell, right, because of how we blended it. So I'm going to take some blue and I'm actually going to splatter just a bit up here, and it's fun to splatter now because it's dry, so I'm not going to get those watermarks. And I'm using my size 2 paintbrush, so we're keeping this. I'm just going to do a bit down here, even a little bit on the leaves. And I'm sorry, I sometimes will stop my sentences in the middle. My sister is always catching me on that. So again, putting some splatters on the leaves, moving them around a bit. I'm going to rinse off that brush really, really well. I know you can't see the splatters phenomenally. Okay, that's a little bit better. I'm also going to grab some of the yellow because we had some yellow in here. I'm going to just splatter up here, splatter down here, not tons, but a little bit. See in here too, where we have the green and the red, the green centers, I am going to just splatter right in the center of the flower. We are going to come back with our red. And I also realized I had another leaf right here. And so I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to add in some green for this leaf. I'm also going to come in where I needed to make it darker. I had a stem here attached to this leaf that I needed to create. I'm just going to go ahead and add in those additional details. When you look at the poinsettia leaves, there's just tons and tons of these little lines, so you can be as detailed or as loose as you want. And I'm actually kind of come back over here too with some yellow. So you can even see too how that really starts to add a greater dimension. I'm going to go ahead where we're moving away from looking flat and really looking like there's things that are more forward, things that are more backward in the painting. Adding in just a couple of lines over here. And then over on this one as well. Not tons, but a few. And then I am going to come back in. I'm going to pick up some yellow and add it in just because the yellow is really on the lines. So I'm going to come back in and move that around and add a little bit of yellow here so it can blend together, and then right on this one as well. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to go back with my red. We're just going to take some red. I'm going to come back over here where I want a little bit more thickness. There's so much red, it can feel like a lot, right? So I'm not going to touch up everything. I'm even going to let some of that more watery red so it has not as intensive a look. But I do want to add a thickness in a little few of the poinsettias. Going to come back over on this one and add in that detail there. Okay, and that looks really nice. Again, not too much, but just a little bit. And then let's definitely do some red splatters as well. Not tons, but a little bit. I'm going to come down here. Okay, so now it is looking a bit more finished. It is a lot of red. I'm just going to say it's a lot of red. And sometimes I don't know how I feel about that because it is such a bold color. But it is Christmas and it is lovely. And I think matted in a white matte, this will look really, really nice. Okay, you guys, again, I just wanted you to see the detail work that I'm doing. A lot of times too, I will go ahead and let the camera, I'll turn the camera off, I'll leave it on the table and then come back and look at it a few more times and just see if there's anything else that I want to add to it. There we go. Okay. All right, you guys, I'm going to be back soon with another Christmas holiday painting. Until then, I hope you have an absolutely beautiful day.